Hello, I'm Dimi. I'm a remote viewer and I'm a member of the Hellfire Remote Viewing Club. Today I'm going to make a presentation over the target 39825636 Kepler-452B, a target which was set up by Henny. And let's go to the next slide to see what about the target. So the task for this target was the current topographic and atmospheric condition of Kepler-452b from the system solar of Kepler-452 at 0° latitude and 0° longitude on the day of viewing was the moment. The tasker was especially interested in data regarding the surface texture, composition, the surface feature, landmarks, the presence or absence of water in liquid form, temperature, light, and radiation conditions from a human perspective, the breathability of the atmosphere from a human perspective, and the presence or the absence of vegetation and bioorganic life in the designated area. Just a few points on this target. I know that Henny already did an astounding presentation over it, but let's see. Kepler 452 is the first near Earth-sized world to be found in the habitable zone of a star that is similar to our. This is the system from which uh, it does provide. This is the star Kepler 452, and this is the orbit of the Kepler 452b. The Kepler 452b, all these images were taken from NASA's site, and of course they are rendering of a person from there. Kepler 452b is said to be a potentially rocky world larger than Earth. This is Earth. In the right is the planet 452b. It is 1.6 larger than the Earth, has 300 days as an orbital period, and this system is about 180 light years from our system, from our Earth. So Kepler 452b is the first planet orbiting a star about the same size and temperature as our Sun. And without further ado, let's go to the session that I did. I've got a session and 3 retasks. On my first get-go, I've got a gray, dusty area, deserted, desolated outside. I've got an AOL as moon, planet, or Oumuamua, and also a comet or a meteor. I've got something long, luminous, bright, curvy with bluish, which could be the presence of water, we hope. Shards of icy-like, reflecting, speeding, striking, visible, luminous, prickly, sharply, and very cold. I've got these visuals of a planetoid type of object in the void, moving, with shards, with misty particle rounds, in a speedy moving on the void. And I've got its round, cold, dense, prickly, sharply white, luminous, and bright. And these parts were misty shards like sharp sands and long, and it was dispersed, slowly dissipated in the void in the darkish. Let's move further. When I prompted myself to move up front of the target, I was dazzled by a sudden view of an object heading toward me, which was really weird. In motion toward me, I wrote here white, blue, transparent, round, big, luminous, crackling noise, edgy, sharp, long, with speculous lights around. A really rough area I saw there. When I move also at the optimum position to perceive the target in full, I think I've moved much further, much farther than this position, because I think at that point I saw something like the sun, their sun. It was really luminous, halo-like, fuzzy, round, irregular, bumpy, and bluish. We know that 452b, 452 Kepler is a star which is much older than ours, and I've also perceived the darkish black empty void around. And I wrote there, it is powerful, fizzling, crackling noise, emotion, speedy, with chemicals, spectacular. Somebody is watching, observing, analyzing, and really serious on that, and in passing, in a perfect timing to an end point. Let's move further. At that very point, I got a flash visual of a planetoid type object surrounded by or orbited by another object which was also something celestial around and with a certain speed um, nearby. And I've seen this man-made, which is here noted with two, which are heading toward that little one, the little object from outside. And I've got for the planetoid type big round gray floating, and I've got an owl as a moon. For this man-made, I've got it was hard, metallic, complex, shiny, and speedy. Um, the orbit was rounding and was like trajectories, and the object, celestial object, was fizzling, burning, running, and luminous and bright in a super speed. And behind him was the misty, fuzzy, sharply multiple rain of particulated small items. Let's move further. Again, a flash visual showed me man-made with prehensile type elements and with articulated elements moving on rough terrain, which was desolate, windy, solid, irregular, dense. And when I tried to describe this, it said to me that it was anchoring, catching, sticking, grabbing, with claw-likes at the ends, dropping, also collecting. It was really ingenious. But I think at that very moment, my mind was trying to tell me something about ingenuity from Mars. People or someone which was there were concentrated and prepared, doing calculus, charts, algorithm drills over and over and over like an exercise. And when I moved to see much more on this item, I saw man-made on a cone-shaped type uh, stick in that very specific area, but also here a hole-like zone, which was and the here was an element that was going down and down, drilling like or collecting, sampling, dropping something there. But this particular thing, I thought it was really dangerous and hot. And when I went to describe it, was specific location seems to be in an area down, empty, hole-like, protected from outside environment, from the windy outside and particulated environment, and also with dim luminescence. I've got an owl as a lunar Indian probe there. Let's move further. So I've got, in the end, like a summary. The land was round, irregular, in motion, speedy, with energetic behind, like a celestial body, a natural land. Energetics were motions, floating, speeding in voidly dispersed, particulated chemical burning elements behind. And the mainland was a vehicle-type terrain, aerial, spatial-like, control remotely. So were like two type of man-made. One was aerial, one was on the terrain, on the land, and the one on the land has two parts. One is fixed, one is mobile, and it seems that it was utilitarian and was probing, collecting, and dropping drill type of exercise. And I've sensed a need to tell something about the water, and the water was also misty and also in the form of icy elements. At this moment, I've got my first retask, which was blind. I've seen what was the point and the focus of the retask after I found out about the feedback. So I had to move to O1, which was this particular man-made, to focus on the why and by whom. and also to indicate its temporal whereabouts. And let's move further. And I see at this point something which was roundish, irregular, bumpy, floating, speeding, slanted trajectory. I think I was in the air, following something. But many times during all these sessions, I've gotten away as China. I don't know why. Maybe my mind was trying to come up with the most comprehensive country that is trying to do something in our world. I don't know. So I've seen this man-made, which was sharp, comb-like, deep down, and it was scratching the surface of the land, and something green was bleeding through. Green, and I've got an well as radiation. Usually, when I've got green and it's not related to bioform or life form, it's about something poisonous, dangerous, or radiation. So I've got also here in my S2 type high energetic, um, motion, boiling, radioactive. Yes, let's move further. And then I prompted myself to move in front of the answer for this retask. Um, and I've seen this transparent kind of, or hidden in plain sight, kind of celestial body with a triangle form shape above, and a lot of energetics, misty like or smoky like around. And I describe as misty gaseous, whitish, but mix of solid and gaseous, like a trail exhaust. And here the triangular, for my triangular, was standing still in the void, a solid, big, huge, like a pyramid, and somehow reminding me of a mountain-like structure, or like the Mount Erebus from Mars. Outside was void, huge, empty space, illuminated. So for me, it feels like this triangular structure is attached to a round spherical mass solid, which cannot be seen, but is there hidden in plain sight by but somehow being camouflaged. And I've got an AOL as Nibur or Death Star. Also, I've got this type of man-made which had rectangular shape. It was hollow, particulate, compartmentalized, with hovering above Earth, with energetic suction type, heavy. I've gotten a sensation of a really gravitation, really heavy sensation, like a big gravity there. And also, I've got a flash visual of man-made heading toward the planetoid, and the really magnetic and gravity really strong, which seems very important. And the man-made was going to make circles around this planetoid, and it was felt like an observed event. When I moved to the focus of this task again, I've got troubles and dust, and like an energy, like an event, like a conflict between two types of war, like a war between David and Goliath, like a conflict between two main parts. One, like a population or being or life form, which was developed modern, like in good, living in good condition with good air and good food, and the other one which was living a more precarious type of life with uh, spare food, um, like bad air. So it was a battle between these kind of words. So it looks. That's why I came with David and Goliath type of AOL, and I thought it was like countries or continents or world. It looks like there's a situation that emerged from a big deflagration back time, that leaves the situation building on its own because of the inequities that were there. So there are on one side was modern cities, tools, people. When I said people, I was not exactly sure of people. I meant like bio. or life forms. In a higher elite group, good air, good food. For me, it looks really like on the Star Trek movie at that point. And the other one was a wild aspect, living in precarious condition with less food, less good air, and no modern technology. And I was left with these images of buildings in rubble being destroyed, burned to ashes, like a deflagration type. And I've got an well as an escape ship, and pretty much that at this retask part. And then went to do another session on 012, not 0012, which was to move this roundish energetic with halo type of object to focus and cause and the effects. And I want for the from the get go, I've got this really interesting energetic, which was moving back and forth in time. Time was really important. It was like seeing a rewinding of a movie tape, back and forth. But these energetics were really sudden, bright, luminous, and because it was having like a sudden pull or a sudden push, I had a sensation of a black hole here. And I keep seeing on the scale going back and forth again, as I said. And this luminosity of this, it was so blind, it was really hard to look at, difficult to avoid, even with the closed eyes. Seemed like a blast or a sudden white beam of destruction and reminded me of a nuclear explosion. And I've got also as a flash visual sudden of rubble on a planetoid type object which was moving in the sky with trails behind of dusty long big dispersed particulated like a in the cosmic void. I wrote here again. I've got an L as a comet and the comet tail. I'm seeing this from a down point. I'm looking to a celestial event, far land. And that at that very point came to my mind a flash visual of the evolution of the human life, but also this was also coming back and forth into the primitive part, into the more evaluated part of the human history. So it feels like important moments of history are triggered by action from outside. It feels like rewinding a tape back and forth or finding the perfect timing of pushing action from outside. So I've got ideas of mankind, evolution, sciences, and art in antiquity, religion, and future science also. And at this point, I've got a really, really sad and really bad, I don't know how to say. I've seen this planetoid type of celestial object being engulfed in burning, um, in a fire, like a huge wave of fire, which incorporates and encompasses the entire planetoid type, and go further and further, burning. Red fury burns with crackling noise, with uh, black also of mass. And I've got an OL as Mars destruction, and then when everything is engulfed in this destruction energetics, eons later, I've got a barren, dry, and dusty planetoid type of corp, celestial body. So I keep seeing a huge roundish spherical mass floating in the void, burning totally red black, a sad feeling, what a waste, I said to myself. So it feels like this is the end point, more let's say it is the effects that I was looking for. The cause seems to be a huge mass of energy blast, like with the power of multiple suns, a blinding brightness white which came through a tunnel-like trajectory, a sucking and also super heavy energetic action and energy hypergravitational fields like which popped up suddenly. Nothing can escape such. Looks like the ultimate weapon of mass destruction. The effect encompasses an entire celestial body. Nothing is left out. A total annihilation, destruction, with red fiery waves of fire burning that engulf everything. The end result, much later on scales of eons, is a dry, lifeless, dusty, rocky celestial body. Then I moved toward the next session, the next retask, which was to move to 0 to O13 and describe in more detail what, how, and why, which was this encounter between a man-made and a celestial body above the main celestial body. So I've got a curvy trajectory, whitish, trailish, looping, speeding. Of course, I didn't know the it was still blind. I find out about the contents of the retask only after the feedback. So it was curvy trajectory, whitish, trailish, looping, speeding in a controlled, unnatural way, standing, and I also got a standing, solid, tall, cylindrical man-made, and for me it was as a rocket. Edgy, flat, angular lorgs, solid, composed with mixed elements, gray made color in a dry, barren location, lifeless environment. I've gotten away as throwing projectiles. And again, the moon came into my session as an hour. I've got the sensation that something was lifting up with really, really, really heavy, barely detaching from lifting up with a heavy load. Why is it so hard? I asked myself. This man-made. It was fully loaded from what I've seen. Energetic, burning hot, heavy mix of flammable elements. And I was asking myself, fully loaded what? With dense material packed as it will be compressed in a small space and volume as a currency of exchange. So this material is dangerous, but also a currency of exchange for a trading activity for me. It's frozen at a really low temperature. When I moved there to see what's more, I see it was gray, layered at low temperature, a process of freezing certain material to not be dangerous, to be compact, easy to control, to manipulate in a safe way, and occupying a much smaller place. It was really sophisticated for me, really sophisticated mini nuclear plants. Let's move further. The material is later detached, meaning when it arrives at the end point, and I thought it was maybe the meeting point in my mind, there are procedures that unpack the dangerous curvy, long, tubular, greenish. Greenish is my sense, my color for radioactive, usually when it's not attached to life forms. Man-made, which are multiple, heavy, loaded, highly sensitive, energetic in a destructive way, and detached from the alloy of which they were embedded in. And then I came up to describe this alloy and these frozen elements and what was there in order to be detached and released at a certain point. So when I move to Y to fully describe, I've got a race for supremacy type of sensation. The first is the winner. There are a lot of at stake. I was wondering winning what? Establishing a camp or a crossing point for further endeavors, a jumping start, and again for I don't know, fourth time I got China as an owl here with a strong impression, like colonizing or grabbing territories and conquering them, putting the flag for the first arrive, my land, my country idea. In this rush, something went really wrong, and like in a domino game, it led to an unfolding of chain reaction that couldn't be stopped. So, as a summary, it feels like there is a transporting mobile man-made which is fully loaded, among others, with a highly sensitive material which seems highly energetic, reminding me of a highly radioactive source. Because of the danger aspect of this, there are complex, intelligent modalities to do so. The material is embedded at low temperature in a frozen alloy for stabilizing and isolation of this material. The man-made seems tall, cylindrical, large, heavy, and barely lifting up because of its load. The owner of this is racing for conquering a certain forest location to establish a camp of a crossing point for further needs. Something is wrong and all is going to blow up, endangering others that share the same space or location or land with other parts or other country or other life forms. Um, they doesn't know about this danger enterprise, but they will suffer the same consequences. So with this, I finished the presentation. I don't know if you like it. I hope you do. So if you have any question, just leave something behind and I will come back to you. Bye. Thank you, Henny, for the target.